I filled 2 small round raised garden beds with exactly the same plain soil. In one I put 9 eggs and the other none. Then I planted 2 of the same type of tomatoes in both of these beds, and in this video I'm going to give you the results. Which plant grew best? Did the eggs make any difference at all? Or was this experiment a complete egg wash and waste of time? G'day, I'm Mark from Self-Sufficient Me, and let's get into it. Now, in case you haven't noticed, I'm shooting this video at midday, so the sun is right on top of my scone and my bald patch. It's getting so hot, I'm afraid that it's going to start a bushfire on top of my head. So if you don't mind, I know it's difficult to see my face, but I'm going to whack a hat on for the remainder of this video. Alright, I'm all done and set. Speaking of set, the setup for these 2 plants was simple. I got the soil from the same place, plain but good garden soil from some of our old beds that I was refurbishing. This one here, I put duck eggs underneath it. You could use any eggs. You could use chicken eggs, you could use quail. I put 9 medium-sized duck eggs underneath this plant, and this plant I put none. They're both exactly the same tomato plant. I actually bought them from the nursery. They're a San Marzano. By the way, this tomato plant is a dwarf variety, or it's a determinate variety. That means it doesn't grow like a vine. Well, it's not supposed to anyway. It's supposed to grow compact and small. As far as growth goes, for the first month or so, they both grew very similar. There wasn't really much difference, except I did notice that the plant with the duck eggs did grow a little more compact. But strangely, the one without the duck eggs started flowering earlier, and it actually started fruiting maybe 2 weeks earlier than this one here. As far as disease goes, I didn't notice any difference in diseased leaves. Both of them suffered quite a bit. The only other thing that really did stand out was the legginess of this one here. How it almost felt to me like it was reaching out. It was starting to turn into a indeterminate variety of tomato, whereby it was searching for more ground. Tomato plants by nature, they're a sprawling plant. We grow them compact. When we tend to trellis the plants and train them in certain directions that we want. But if you leave them in a garden bed or just leave them naturally grow in the environment, they will sprawl out. And when they sprawl out, where the stems touch the ground, they can then start to re-root down. And tomato plants can then get more energy and more nutrients from the soil in a wider place, simply because of their sprawling habit. So I had a feeling that because there wasn't enough nutrients in this bed, that the tomato plant here was starting to get leggier and grow more at the expense of the size of this fruit, simply to try to get some more energy and find some more food before it settled down and started flowering and fruiting properly. Alright, here we are at the 7-week mark of the duck egg experiment, where we put duck eggs under this tomato plant and none under this one. Just plain good soil, that's all. So far, I've got a couple of fruit off both. Nothing fantastic. The fruit's not too bad. Essentially, both plants are growing just okay. Both have disease problems right from the start. I've had to trim them both back just to get rid of a lot of that diseased leaves. But regardless, they're still growing and producing. The one with the duck eggs is probably at least half again more fruit. This plant here without the duck eggs, the fruit started earlier and is ripening now earlier as well. Yeah, both have 2 ripe ones, but this one here is fairly much ahead, and I think that's more of a stress thing, and that's probably also why this one here has got less fruit than this one. So that's where we're up to at this present stage at the 7-week mark. The one with the duck eggs is slightly outperforming the one without the duck eggs, but to be totally honest, there's not a huge difference. So that was a much younger me, around 3 months ago. And at the 11 to 12 week mark, that's when the plants probably had their best fruiting time. After that, I just continued to harvest bit by bit, and I kept a record on my phone of how many grams I took from each tomato plant so that I could add it up at the end and let you guys know exactly what the yield was from the tomato with the eggs and the tomato without the eggs. By the way, how did they taste? My standard tomato toasty test came out a big double thumbs up. They were actually a very tasty tomato. I didn't really taste any difference at all between either. And then we finally get to this point where we're at now, at the 5-month mark. Both plants, as you can see, have pretty much had it. Well, they have had it. They're both dead. The weather's getting way too hot, but they've just done their time anyway. Let's just finish this off. I'll pick the fruit remaining off both of these. We'll weigh it, and then we'll find out what the final yield weight was between these two. All right, we'll do this one first with the duck eggs. I won't count the green ones because we're not going to eat them anyway or make a sauce out of them. Okay, rightio, we put this on top and then switch it on. That'll give us a negative weight. There we go, perfect. Now we'll put these in. 702. Rightio, that's 702 grams, not bad. We'll add that to the with eggs. And now let's do this one and we'll add it all together. Get rid of these green ones, not necessary. There. We'll be fair, we'll even these little orange ones we'll keep. Right, let's do the same thing. 1,069 grams. So let's add that onto the one with no eggs. Okay, I've done my sums and here are the results. The no eggs yielded 2,803 grams over the lifetime of the plant, and the with eggs yielded 4,383 grams over the lifespan of the plant. That makes a difference of 1,580 grams difference, or 1.58 kilograms, or 1.5 kilograms more yield from this plant than this one. In conclusion, I think that is a fairly interesting finding. It wasn't a complete hiding, but you know, like it wasn't twice as much, but the egg plant grew substantially more than the one without the eggs by 1.5 kilos. So that's a fair amount of tomatoes. And you know, that could be the difference, and it does demonstrate what, you know, fertilizer can do, no matter where you get it from, whether it's from the shops, whether it's your homemade stuff, whether it's just some old duck eggs that you weren't going to use. And that is the key. I probably should have said that in the beginning, but I've done these duck eggs experiments before on other things like potatoes, so you might want to have a look at that. I explain that the duck eggs I use, or chicken eggs or quail eggs, whatever, they're all eggs that we weren't going to use anyway. So what could you do with those eggs? Well, I use them in the garden, and we turn those eggs into egg-shaped tomatoes. Beautiful tasting, wonderful sauces, wonderful on toasties, wonderful on salads, whichever you want. But the energy and the nutrients they get are from eggs that would have otherwise been maybe thrown away. So it's definitive. Using eggs does work as fertilizer in the garden. And what happens when you put eggs under one tomato plant and no eggs under the other, but with exactly the same soil? You get a better result out of the one that had the eggs underneath it, simply because it had more nutrition and more energy to be able to produce more produce. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a cross between an egg and a tomato, but make it big. Thumbs up. That's a bit medium. Make it big red thumbs up. Thanks a lot for watching. Share the video around because that helps my channel out heaps. Bye for now.